Although we didn't actually come here for the wildlife, it has become a quite enchanting bonus for us. A herd of these guys actually wandered across our lawn on the second day that we were here. We actually woke up at 6 in the morning and looked out the window. And there they were, just quite unconcerned, strolling across the lawn, making their usual path back into the woodland. As some of you will probably know, hunting is quite a popular pastime here in France, and although it's not something we personally condone, it's a fact of life and you kind of have to live with it and deal with it. But this guy wandering around in the middle of the afternoon is, well, he's taking a hell of a risk. This young guy is obviously a little bit disorientated. You don't often see them at this time of the day. But normally they do make their way across our lawn on this side of the stream and over into the woodland area there. This one doesn't seem to know quite what to do with himself. So he's decided to take off, and we'll see you again another day, we hope. These little guys are pretty much everywhere at this time of year. It's the appropriately named wall lizard, and as the sun heats up the stones, they come out, because they're cold-blooded of course, they come out and sit on the walls and warm themselves up, charging their batteries and getting ready to scuttle off, just like that in fact. For those of you that live here, or if you're planning on moving here, you'll find plenty of Facebook groups with all kinds of useful information. One of the major topics, however, tends to be this guy. This is the edible dormouse. In French, they call it the loir. And they can be quite a pest. They make their home in usually in the attic underneath roof tiles. They like to hibernate during the winter in the loft insulation, and they can be a bit of a problem. So, short of actually stripping off your roof tiles and stripping out all of the insulation, there's not really a hell of a lot you can do about these guys. When we bought the house here last year, it had been actually stood empty for, well, almost 3 years because of the pandemic. And so we had a family of these guys who just took up residence because there was nobody around to disturb them. But since we've lived here, and also probably because we've got cats, we haven't had an issue with them now for, well, pretty much 9 months now. We'll see what happens next winter and see if they come back. In Roman times, of course, they were considered a delicacy, hence the name, and they were kept in earthenware jars to fatten up before serving them roasted at a banquet. The other major topic of conversation on Facebook groups are these guys. Yes, they look nasty, yes, they can sting, but really only if they're threatened or if they're actually protecting their nest. They are bigger than wasps, but the sting really generally isn't that much worse than a wasp. But they do tend to cause panic and an awful lot of conversation. They're not particularly welcome. They do threaten honeybees. They can actually destroy a honeybee nest. But generally, the best advice is just avoid them. As you can see here, Chris Luck from Planète Passion is probably the fount of all knowledge as far as these guys are concerned. Again, because this house had stood empty for so long, we did actually have a bit of a problem in one of the upstairs Velux windows. But it was pretty easy to get rid of them, and they haven't come back and haven't been a problem since. On the subject of honeybees, during a rather pleasant alfresco lunch one afternoon, we heard something quite disturbing above us.
They're not. They're completely different.
We enjoy some very delicious honey from very local sources. One of our favourites coming from a beekeeper literally just across the next field. So we thought, well, maybe if we were to give the guy a call, he might want to come out and see if he can find the queen in amongst that lot and move the colony. So, while Kaya was busy filming, I ran into the house and picked up a jar of honey and was trying to find the phone number on it. In the meantime, this had developed, but by the time I'd actually got back outside, it had gone. They had clearly just stopped off for a break on their journey to somewhere else. Talking of things that fly, flying ants can also be a problem around here, but again, usually only for a couple of days. They appear, congregate, swarm, and then disappear somewhere else. Generally speaking, coypews are considered to be a bit of a pest. They do a lot of damage to riverbanks, but we find them quite endearing. That low groaning sound you can hear, that's them vocalising. Of course, all this activity attracted the attention of Darcy, who found the whole episode fascinating. Our other cat, Leo, seen here doing his Lion King impersonation, was watching the whole thing from behind a tree. So Darcy continued to get braver and braver, and more fascinated. Leo, of course, on the other hand, stayed behind his tree and just watched the action from a distance. But eventually she did pluck up the courage and started to edge her way a little bit closer. Really not a good idea. If you look carefully, you can see the size of their teeth, and they've got sharp claws. Not the best of ideas for a cat trying to take on something like that.
Darcy. Darcy, no. Darcy, no. No. Darcy. Darcy. That's not a good idea, Darcy. No. No, Darcy. Damn it. Excuse me. Darcy. Darcy. No. You see? What was that?
And then one morning we woke up to find this on the lawn. Clearly not a deer, actually probably something quite substantial. So we brought ourselves a wildlife camera and we set it up along the back of the dead hedge by the field, just to see what it would capture. As you can see, she's actually quite close to the house, so she's clearly hungry and putting aside her fear of humans. Clearly she's got young and she's trying to find food. But they love eating roots and they will dig up pretty much anything, including our garden. We did consider mentioning this to our neighbour, after all it's coming across from his land, but like I say, hunting is quite a popular sport here and somehow it just didn't feel right, so we kept quiet about her. So it's taken a couple of weeks for the ground to recover after the adventures with Borisa the boar. But the main solution for deterring her, this is the dead hedge by the way leading into the farmer's field, and this is where she used to come across. The main deterrent was this guy. In actual fact, this is an old dry-as-a-bone raincoat from Kaya's days in Australia and my gilet jaune, the famous yellow vests. And last but not least, we have probably the world's noisiest frogs.